Let's shift focus to the United States now. President Joe Biden has issued a full and unconditional pardon for his son, Hunter Biden. The announcement comes just days before Hunter was due to face sentencing for gun crime and tax-related offences. Biden justified pardoning Hunter by alleging that his son was being prosecuted selectively and unfairly. He went on to add that he hoped Americans will understand why a father and a president would come to this decision. However, Biden had previously said that he wouldn't pardon his son.
With regard to the question regarding the family, I'm extremely proud of my son Hunter. He has overcome an addiction. He's one of the brightest, most decent men I know, and I am satisfied that I'm not going to do anything. I said I abide by the jury decision, and I will do that, and I will not pardon him.
Hunter Biden responded to his pardon, stating that he has admitted and taken responsibility for his mistakes, which has been exploited as political sport. He expressed gratitude for his family's support. Biden Jr. also emphasized his focus on moving forward. Hunter Biden's legal troubles stem from several convictions, including a guilty plea to 9 tax offenses linked to millions in unpaid taxes. He also faced charges related to illegal purchase of a firearm, a case that sparked public interest due to Hunter's struggles with addictions. The pardon prevents Hunter from being sentenced for charges related to both cases, which had threatened to send him to prison. His sentencing hearings, set for mid-December, have now all been cancelled. U.S. President-elect Donald Trump slammed the decision as quote-unquote abuse and miscarriage of justice. On a social media platform, Trump questioned the move and asked whether the pardon included J6 hostages, referring to the people jailed in the Capitol riots case.
And swatting attempts, Mr. President.
And to get us in perspective on this story, Stephen Golub is joining us on this broadcast as a political analyst and lawyer. Mr. Golub, good to see you on WION.
Well, pardon the pun, but what Joe Biden did is ethically and politically unpardonable. He really has done harm at a very bad time in U.S. history to the rule of law and to the notion of justice here. It's a particularly bad time because Donald Trump is coming into office. He's going to try to undermine the rule of law here in many ways, including by Trump pardoning the January 6th insurrectionists who violently seized the U.S. Capitol 4 years ago and who harmed and whose actions harmed and ultimately led to the deaths of police officers afterwards. So Trump is going to do what he's going to do regardless. He did not need this Hunter Biden pardon to go ahead with his efforts to undermine justice and to pardon the insurrectionists and others. But this provides him an additional political excuse to do it, to try to persuade people in the middle of the American political spectrum that, look, I, Donald Trump, can pardon anyone because, look, Joe Biden pardoned his own son. Now, just briefly, there are a couple of other layers to this. One is that it's arguable that if Hunter Biden were not Joe Biden's son, he would not have been prosecuted for these crimes. He would have paid his fines and not been facing the threat of going to jail for this. So that's one matter. On the other hand, Hunter Biden dug his own grave, in a sense, through some very unethical actions by exploiting his father's name, exploiting his father by bringing his father in on phone calls when Hunter Biden was seeking and getting consulting contracts. Nothing illegal in that itself, but it led to his amassing funds that in turn allowed him he used to evade paying taxes and led to one of the major charges he faced. So it's a complicated situation in some ways. But as I said, the bottom line is that it's a sad day for U.S. justice. It's a sad day for Joe Biden's legacy. And the ultimate beneficiary of this will actually be Donald Trump.
Mr. Golub, it's interesting how you say that, how you're connecting the past, the present and the future given what Donald Trump is going to do. But I want to go to a point you made towards the beginning of what you're saying. Donald Trump's pardoning of the Jan 6th rioters has nothing to do with Joe Biden pardoning his son. As you correctly mentioned or rightly predicted, that it doesn't really depend on Joe Biden's pardoning of Hunter Biden. But given the political optics of it, looking at it from a zoomed out lens of Republicans and Democrats, what do you make of that?
Well, that's exactly it. In a narrow sense, Donald Trump, as I said, is going to go ahead and pardon many or maybe even all of the January 6th insurrectionists and take other actions that undermine or try to undermine the rule of law. Anyway, he didn't need Joe Biden's actions, the pardon here, to do that, but it makes it easier for him and his allies to argue to the American public and to maybe persuade some Americans that, look, this is something presidents do anyway. This is something Joe Biden did. He pardoned his own son. It deepens the very cynicism about the U.S. justice system, or skepticism at the very least, that many Americans feel that Donald Trump has fueled. So he benefits. The justice system and Joe Biden's legacy really suffer from this, and this unfortunately comes at a time on top of Joe Biden's legacy already being tarnished by the fact that he held on for so long in refusing to step back from running for president, running for re-election, I should say, which ultimately might have contributed to the Democrats' loss. Not the only factor at all, but might well have contributed to Kamala Harris's or any Democratic nominee's loss. Right. The fact that Joe Biden held on so long in that regard.
All right, Mr. Golub, thank you so much for all your insights. Good to speak to you.
Thanks for having me.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.